All right, guys, today we're talking about another game on the Infinity Game Table. This time, the name of the game is a game that's exclusive to the Infinity Game Table made by the designers, and that is No Cops, Just Robbers. It is a social deduction game, one of my favorite categories in the board game world. I love social deduction games. Plays from 4 to 6 people. And in this game, you actually all sit around the table, like I said, up to 6 people, and you're trying to deduce who out of the robbers is trying to steal the money. There's a snake in there who's trying to take all the money for themselves, and you're trying to use what you've gathered throughout the round to talk to each other and figure out who that snake may be among the 6 of you. Sometimes there's accomplices involved. There's a couple of cool things in this game that I really like, so let's go and get into it. All right, guys, today we're here to talk about a game called No Cops, Just Robbers on the Infinity Game Table. Now, this is, like I said, a social deduction game. So I love social deduction games and board games. It's probably my favorite genre in board games when it comes to playing with a large group of people. Think games like Werewolf, which is really popular in the board game world and stuff like that. Spyfall, which is another huge one. So this game kind of fits in that realm, except it was built exclusively by the Infinity Game Table team. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at this one and see what it's like. So you can see you can play with 4, 5, or 6 players in this one. So this is obviously meant for people to play in a party. If we take a look at the options here, you can actually turn the audio instructions on or off. So I'm going to turn that off for a second so you guys can see what the audio instructions are like at the beginning of the game. And what's really cool is there's actually 2 themes in the game. So you can actually play a Christmas theme, which was fantastic during Christmas time. It was an additional purchase there, which I did purchase for the Infinity Game Table. So really cool that they do themes. I hope to see more themes like this for, especially around events like Halloween and Christmas and stuff, to have those kind of games to play during Christmas. It was really, really fun. But we're going to leave it at the default theme for the time being. Since this is what the game's supposed to look like, that's what this was over here in the corner, was a store for the game where you actually got to purchase that theme pack over here. It's called the Naughty Elf Edition. So really cool. It changes everything to a Christmas theme. So let's go ahead and hit 6 players here.
Everyone is assigned a spot to keep watch for the cops, but this leaves the money unattended.
So that's basically what the audio is like. I'm going to turn the audio off for a second because obviously then you guys won't be able to hear me, but I just wanted to show you guys that there is that in the game where you can actually just leave the audio instructions on and it will just read this to everybody while they're playing. But basically everyone gets the same instructions to the left and the right side of the table. I'll read this with you guys since I like talking in the video instead of just listening to the table. But basically the game is that you're a gang of bank robbers who have just pulled off a major bank heist, and you're hiding out until the cops give up the search. Everyone is assigned a spot to keep watch for the cops, but this leaves the money unattended. The problem is there's also a snake among the robbers, and everyone is suspected. A snake will attempt to keep all the money for themselves. All the robbers will feel compelled to check to make sure the money hasn't been taken by a snake. When enough time has passed, the cops will leave the area, and all robbers return to the money. Has a snake struck? Is the money missing? Are there any accomplices? Let's play. So basically, what the game is like here as we start here, and you hit that check mark. So as you can see here, you're sitting at the main table here, and it says tap and hold your card to see what type of robber you are. So you start tapping. This guy's a snake. His eyes open at 4 o'clock. Everyone else is, of course, a regular person at this time. And then at 5 o'clock, he opens his eyes. At 7 o'clock, at 4, things like that. So these two open their eyes at 4 o'clock. As you guys can tell, they both have the time. So that means there's going to be an accomplice in the game. So basically what that means is that there's going to be somebody working with the snake that's over here, because we know this guy's a snake. When that happens randomly in the game. So essentially in the game, sometimes you'll have somebody who opens up their eyes at the same time as the snake does. If that happens and you both have your eyes open, you immediately become the accomplice of the round with the snake. That's how the accomplice gets basically brought up in the game. So he has a 4 o'clock time and he has a 4 o'clock time. So that means that, you're going to be able to see each other, and obviously you're both are going to be on the same side, trying to steal this bag of money in the center. Remember, the goal of the game here is for the snake and an accomplice, if there is one, to grab this money without being caught. So you're going to take that money from the middle of the table, which we'll see here in a second. Everyone else is just trying to keep an eye on the money in the center. So it says here, to start, you're going to go ahead and switch the lights off. So it says close your eyes and open them when it's your time. So essentially, the game is going to start counting down. It says at 3 o'clock, they start talking and they tell you open up your eyes and check the money if you're at 3 o'clock. Now, if you have the 3 o'clock time, you open up your eyes and you check to see if the money's at the table. 4 o'clock, these two guys are going to have their eyes open, and they're going to take the money and swipe it away, because they're both an accomplice now. So these two guys across, because they both opened up their eyes at the same time. Something else that the other people can do while they're going around the table is not only checking on the money, but you can check on one other person's time. So that means that when it's their turn, you can click on this and they can see someone's time, but only one of that time. So when you're at 6 o'clock, if you already checked somebody, you can't do it again. But at 7 o'clock, if somebody has that time, now you can check one other person's time. So he checked this guy's time. It's at 4 o'clock. That's the only time you can check. One person per round when you go. Now at 8 o'clock, this person checks this time. And now they know that that person opened up their eyes at 5 o'clock, for example. So now you have some information. So basically now the money is missing in the center of the table. And now you take basically 6 minutes, you turn the lights on, and you have 6 minutes to talk to each other to figure out what you just saw. Now there's a lot to discuss here because you all have some information. So this person over here could have opened up his eyes at 7 o'clock and he could say, listen, I opened up my eyes at 7, the money was already gone, it wasn't me. That other person over here could have opened up his eyes and he actually looked at this person's time. Remember, you can look at one person's time when you're not the snake in the round and check what their time was. So if this person says they opened up their eyes at 7 and this person's like, wait a minute, and I checked your time said 8, you're lying, you took the money at 8. And he's like, no, you're lying. And they kind of go back and forth. And you're trying to determine who's lying and who isn't. The other person on the other side of the table, they could be like, listen, the money was there all the way up to round 6. I don't know what you guys are talking about. This person, who actually is the snake that we all know, is kind of just getting involved in those conversations. Being like, yeah, I saw that guy open his eyes at 4 o'clock. He goes along with the group, trying to fit into what everyone else is discussing. And then, of course, his accomplice is doing the same thing. He's going along with the conversations of the group because they both can't get caught in the game because they're both working on the same side. So there's a lot of information to be gathering. Like I said, you see if the money was stolen when you opened up your eyes. You tell people that. You obviously, each person got to check one person's time. So then when they start talking about the time that they opened up their eyes or something, you know, somebody at that table can know if that person's lying. Because be like, hey, listen, I saw your time slot when I opened up my eyes. I saw you opened your eyes at 6. You're saying you opened them up at 7. You're lying to us. Of course, they could both be lying, and that's kind of what the problem is. You kind of deduce that, go back and forth trying to get as much information as possible in these 6 minutes that this table has open. And then after the 6 minutes are up and you guys have had those discussions, now you go into actually deciding who you think the snake was. So let's say, for example, that one person thought it was this one person thought it was this one person thought it was this one, 2 people thought this was a snake, 1 person thought it was this one. So it says here that all the robbers have made their accusations. Were there any accomplices involved? Have you chosen the snake correctly? Has the snake gotten away with the money? So, there was an accomplice involved, but they did choose the snake correctly. So the accomplice is just helping out the snake in the conversations that were leading up to it. Like telling the guy, telling the group like, yeah, agreeing with the snake with anything that he says about the time he opened up his eyes, what he saw. Because they're working together, and the snake is the person that can't get caught. But unfortunately, the snake was caught. So not only did the accomplice not do a great job throughout that game of trying to convince people that this was not the snake, they obviously both lost because of it. So it really adds a cool dynamic when there is another snake involved or an accomplice involved, because then that person knows who the snake is because you both had your eyes open, and then you can kind of work together throughout the game to not get the snake caught. So there's a lot of fun to be had in this game. I love social deduction games of going around the table, like games like Werewolf and stuff like that, to see who did what and who actually did something. And this one was developed exclusively for the Infinity game table, and I think they did a really good job. The table needed a social deduction game like this because they're really popular in a party setting. And the fact that you can play this with 6 people, it's in a unique design, I think it's really fun. The fact that everyone has, a certain time that they open up their eyes, and then you open up your eyes and see if you have anybody else working with you, if there's an accomplice with you. If you're not a snake, then you get to open up your eyes and check other people's timer at the table to basically see what time they had, so then you can start telling people, like, when all your eyes are open and everyone starts lying, you can be like, listen, I checked your clock, you're lying to us. Or, no, he's telling the truth because I did open my eyes. A lot of those conversations lead to a lot of arguments, a lot of back and forth, and it's what makes the game fun until you finally all high-five each other when you catch that snake in the end. Or the snake and the accomplice might high-five each other at the end if they both open up their eyes together. So that's a look into Just Snakes, No Robbers. It is a fantastic game on the Infinity game table. One of the best party games, probably the best party game on the Infinity game table currently. One that I'll always bring out when I have this table out, when I have a lot of people over. It's a really fun game to play. Again, great social deduction game, a great job that they built this from the ground up. I like the Christmas theme as well. So check this one out, guys, if you guys like party games on the Infinity game table. Really, really fun stuff. If you guys have any questions about what you guys saw in today's video, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.